Church devotional series, which goes through the entire Bible in 20 months. Today, our readings are from Genesis 5 and Acts chapter 5. Now, Genesis 5 has this intriguing list of patriarchs. And what's intriguing about them, starting from Adam, is the number of years that they live. So Adam lived 930 years, and others were equally long. And so you ask yourself, well, how is that possible? Well, there are two schools of thought. There are the literalists who say, listen, there was a water canopy over the earth at the time, like a vapor. The rain only started falling on the earth during the time of Noah. So it's like this greenhouse effect. Others have said it was their diet. There was no disease, that God intended them to live a long way, time to populate the earth. And still others have said, well, listen, God can intervene and cause any miracle to happen. Maybe he did that miracle. But then there are also those who believe that these numbers are symbolic. So, for example, in Mesopotamian culture at the time, we see other people, non-biblical characters, living extraordinary lengths of time written in Mesopotamian culture historical records. So, for example, there's this Sumerian king called Alulim, who is said to have reigned for 28,800 years. Now, how is that possible in the scheme of things? And so, maybe these numbers are symbolic. Well, statisticians have looked at these numbers. So all 10 of these patriarchs are given 3 dates. The date that a child was born, the date after the child was born, and the total length of time. So for example, Adam was 130 years old when Seth was born. He lived 800 years after Seth, and then total of 930 years. So if you take these 30 dates from the 10 patriarchs and statistically work out the probability of them ending with 02579, which every single one of these figures ends with 02579 or 9. The probability of these numbers being random is 1 in 100 million. So there's something else at play here. For every one of these 30 dates to end with 02579 or 9, there must be something else at play. And so let's have a look at the Mesopotamian mathematical system, which was based on the number 60. It was a sacred number. If you take their sacred numbers 60 and 7, you can take almost all these numbers and make sense of it. So, for example, Methuselah's 187 before his child was born is 60 plus 60 plus 60 plus 7. Now, 60 months equals 5 years. So 5 years plus 5 years plus 5 years plus this other sacred number. Now you can do that with every single one of these figures, except some of them require 5 as well. So you can use 60 months equals 5 years. You can use the number 7 and you can use the number 5, and you can do mathematical commutations that put these figures into a more workable age span. Because after all, you know, the psalmist wrote in Psalm 90 that man's lifespan is 70 years, and if he's lucky, 80. And so whether you are a literalist who are saying, listen, it's water canopies and lack of disease, etc., or whether you say, listen, you know, we don't fully understand this, but Mesopotamian culture, ancient culture, used symbolic numbers to describe it. The thing that we need to take from this text is that God keeps a record, and God sustains life, and God preserves these genealogies. He loves these family lines, and just like God records every year Methuselah lived and Adam lived, he records every year you lived. Now, let's quickly jump over to Acts chapter 5. Acts chapter 5 has got this remarkable sequence of miracles where Ananias and Sapphira die because they lie to the Holy Spirit, where there is Paul's, so Peter and John's shadow raising people to health. There's this miraculous intervention of an earthquake and shaking the apostles out of jail. And you know, this is what, when a wise old rabbi had to give explanation of what was going on, this is what he said. For if their purpose or activity is of human origin, it'll fail. But if it is from God, you will not be able to stop these men. You will only find yourselves fighting against them and fighting against God. And so they were released from jail. And then this is how this chapter ends. Day after day in the temple courts, from house to house, they never stopped teaching and proclaiming the good news that Jesus is the Messiah. God intervenes in history. Whether he did so with the ages of those patriarchs up front, we will never know until we meet him face to face. But he intervenes in history. He intervenes with healing. He intervenes with, prolonging life and cutting short life. He intervenes with miracles and deliverance. And so I trust that as you read these 2 chapters, you will be encouraged that God can intervene in your history, your lifetime. God bless you, and I trust that you learn from these chapters today.